Hey guys, you're watching Halborn Flash Videos. I'm Arabdha, and today we have Andrey and Bo joining us in for this chat. We're going to talk about Fyde, Halborn, and all the work we're doing together. So that said, Andrey and Bo, maybe you can take a moment and introduce yourself a little bit to our audience.
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Andre, and I'm one of the co-founders here at Fyde. So, my professional background before getting into DeFi was in physics, actually. I was a research professor in the New Jersey State, in the New Jersey Institute of Technology. And over there, I was working on some stuff like computational astrophysics, which was really fun. And, I got my start working as a fellow at Stanford and the NASA Ames Research Center, as well as a bit of time working at the Los Alamos National Lab. And it was really cool while it lasted, but found myself always thinking about DeFi and some of the side projects I was doing. The way I actually got into Web3 and DeFi was about 8 years back. When I first read the white paper on Ethereum that came out, I saw it and it was kind of a pretty intense light bulb in my mind. I was like, maybe I should buy some Ethereum. But basically, I just saw the way that it could, change the financial industry and revolutionize some aspects of it. And it's been in my mind this whole time as I was working on side projects. And I found myself more interested in these projects that I was working on as opposed to my actual job, my career in academia. And that's when I knew I had to make the switch.
Got it. What about
Yeah.
you, Bo?
Yeah, I mean, so I was basically in like finance my entire career. I studied maths and econ at university, and from there, I went straight into Wall Street. I was working at JP Morgan for quite some time. Most recently, I was a portfolio manager in their chief investment office. We ran $500 billion around the world, trading multi-asset class products. So I guess like everything from equities to fixed income, currencies, commodities. Pretty much covered it all. And I was also their like crypto research lead for about a year or two before I left. By virtue of just having been in the space basically around the same time as Andre, because so me and Andre have known each other since we were kids. And when this guy
Oh,
read the Ethereum white paper, he calls me a few days later and goes, "Bo, let's grab a drink. I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
was like,
tell you
let
about
me
the
take you
future of the
out
internet."
and tell you about the opportunity that will change your life.
that's how the best
Exactly.
projects begin.
I thought it was going to be a pyramid scheme. It turned out to be this instead.
Zooming into that a little bit more, do you guys think that jumping in from backgrounds such as mathematics and finance to DeFi or physics to DeFi was an easy transition for you?
I think it was pretty straightforward because like a lot of the stuff in DeFi that you see today are stuff that has been used in TradFi pretty consistently. I mean, like yield, right? Like everyone gets yield. Leverage trading, everyone kind of gets that. Options, it's used around finance. And like I think what's really interesting though is that DeFi has taken some of the more esoteric things that you find in finance that like, very few people own large amounts of, but is not super well known broadly. Like Pendo, for example, right? A great example of a product that's, absolutely killing it. They have 2 million TVL. Their product exists in traditional finance as something called treasury strips. And I can guarantee you that if you ask just, even people in finance who are trading and investing stuff, how many of them have heard of have heard of treasury strips? Maybe like 5% of people, right? But like you bring that over into crypto and it's taken off quite a bit. And so, I personally find it really interesting from that perspective.
It was also pretty straightforward. There's a lot of parallels. Well, especially in the work that I was doing, which was basically computational physics. What I did at the NASA Ames Research Center was I basically worked on the Pleiades supercomputer, where I spent 5 or 6 years writing code in Fortran on massively parallelized systems. And the time that I took to like learn coding and really understand computers and really like run through everything translated almost one to one in some of the stuff that I'm doing now. I mean, lately I've been on a Rust binge where we're building a simulation framework. So essentially, for our pool, what we do is we have different strategies, and we put those strategies through back tests and through kind of like risk assessments. And we do that by putting them in simulation environments where we kind of stress test the different market conditions, different volatility, and we really look to include tokens that have interesting like historical performance, And I've been just building that out this whole time, and it almost feels like a continuation of some of the work that I've been doing.
Wow, look at that parallel. All right, so let's talk a bit about Fyde and its mission and how the story evolved from that drink there to now. What happened there?
We went our own separate ways, and somehow I ended up at London Business School where I met the other two co-founders, Carlos and Baron. Um, we essentially all believe that crypto is going to be the future, right? It's going to be or at the very least, a very large part of what the future financial world would look like. Open, transparent, decentralized to a large degree. And so we actually ended up starting the London Business School Blockchain Society. We had, call it, founding Telegram group of 50 members, grew that out. I think there are like 900 members on that Telegram group now. And around that, we wanted to form the LBS DAO, because at that time we were also receiving MakerDAO tokens, right, to be delegators for A16Z for their MakerDAO position. So we wanted to create a DAO, and we also wanted to look into how to actually manage the DAO's treasury. Because if you look at some of these other university DAOs, they had 7-8 figures, right, in treasury size, not unsubstantial amounts. And so as we were looking at the market for what's a good treasury management solution for our DAO, we realized there just really weren't any, right? Most of them leveraged yield, for example, right, or you need a certain type of token to be able to access it. And at the end of the day, we would have been juggling 6 or 7 or 8 different dApps in order to try to make this treasury run. And we realized, you know what, like instead of juggling between all these different products, why don't we just create a single product that can meet all these needs? And instead of only allowing things like stablecoin or ETH into this product, which is kind of what most of the market does today, why don't we allow a whole load of tokens, right, into this product? So that's kind of how we decided to come up with the idea for Fyde. In terms of like what is Fyde, like what we built, right, is a DeFi protocol that's designed to really upgrade the whole crypto asset management experience. Whether you're a treasury, whether you're a founder, a delegate, right, anyone with a concentrated position can use us. What we do is we create these really well diversified liquidity pools that anyone can access with their native tokens while still keeping the native governance rights of those tokens. So not only are they actually lowering the volatility of their crypto position, they're getting diversified exposure, all that sort of stuff, they don't have to actually sacrifice control either, which is what we're seeing right now with a lot of DeFi protocols. And I think that combination, and of course they also get increased liquidity and yield and all that sort of stuff. But I think this combination of being able to get diversification, get liquidity, right, like not having to lose your governance rights while you're doing it, is super powerful.
I think when we were thinking about treasury management as a concept, one thing that really stuck out to us was the fact that so many of these founders, so many DAOs, so many protocols, they keep their entire treasury in just a single token, which is their token. And I understand like where that idea comes from. You think, oh, this is my token; it's going to go to the moon, and all the other tokens suck. I don't want it to do it like anything with them. But the reality of the situation is horrible financial planning. I mean, you really do need to diversify your portfolio in several ways. I think the problem that we saw is there's a bit of misalignment of incentives in the space when it comes to diversifying your portfolio. So a lot of these protocols, in order to diversify, they would have to sell a portion of their treasury, and in order to purchase like financial product like an ETF or something of that nature. But the problem is if they sell, well, one of the problems is that they have to let go of governance rights, and that's was really the impetus for creating this kind of pool where you're allowed to keep your governance rights. In a sense, it kind of acts almost like an autonomous portfolio manager for you. When you come in and you choose to deposit into the pool, the contract will spin up a proxy contract for you, which will be a custodian for your funds. those funds will get transferred to that, and it kind of acts like this autonomous portfolio manager that will, sell a portion or buy up a portion in order to keep the peg of the overall pool. And this allows founders and DAOs to diversify their portfolio while retaining control and while still being able to vote with that allocation. So what this proxy pool does is it allows us to transfer voting rights or redelegate voting rights back to the users so that they can, either go through our platform and submit a vote on chain, or they can even go to a snapshot space and, get a proposal hash and vote on that. One of the other things I would say that this allows us to do, or allows founders or users to do, is to have a better off ramp for liquidity. So when you have your own treasury as a single token, there's a huge amount of risk. And that risk is if we're in a down market condition like we are in today, or in a bear market, and for example, you run a company or you have developers, you have a runway, you need to pay people. And the only way you can pay people is to start liquidating portions of your treasury. As soon as you start even selling small amounts, like 1 to 3%, it can cause a huge downward spiral in your market price, a complete crash of the token, essentially. So one thing that diversifying your portfolio allows you to do is to really mitigate that by depositing to this pool, where you then get as basically a wrapper for the whole basket of tokens. And that wrapper is kind of it acts like a pathway to liquidity, because when you sell that instead of your native governance token, an arbitrager would buy it up and they would redeem it, and they would get a handful of tokens back instead. And those handful of tokens have a much deeper market liquidity than just your own single one. And that will allow you to off ramp your treasury a little bit more than you would have if you're just in a single position.
Great. That was an excellent explanation from both of you. So we have got more diversification going on, more access to liquidity, but also you get to control your governance rights as you intended to in the first place. Is there anything I'm missing from what sets Fyde apart from the rest of similar protocols on the market?
I think one thing for me that really sets us apart is, I would say, the technical rigor that we do in choosing our portfolio strategy, that we do in choosing pool composition for the different tokens. So we have this backtesting framework that we use to get an initial strategy. We then use that to refine it. Then we pass that strategy on to the stress test. And that stress test actually tests these strategies in real market environments, as well as synthetic ones that we make up in order to test different conditions of volatility, test different down market conditions, so that we make sure that every token that we have can withstand, some of the worst market conditions that are out there. And in DeFi, there's some pretty bad market conditions sometimes. Yeah. So I think another thing that really separates us or makes us stand apart is the people that we choose to work with. So if we accept an asset into our pool, what we would do is we would really look at to make sure that they're a technically sound protocol. We would do our own analysis of their code base. We would do our own tokenomic simulation of their actual protocol within some historical market conditions. And we have a filtering process that we put every token through. That filtering process basically takes a look at past market performance, trading volume, and different things such as network analysis. And what network analysis is basically taking a look at the nodes that protocol interacts with on chain, and basically ranking them on how centralized versus decentralized the protocol is, or maybe the founders saying it's centralized while or saying it's decentralized while it's really more centralized, and also looking at the pattern of behavior between some of the nodes in the network. So this pattern of behavior can give us an understanding of, is there a lot of wash trading going on? Is the daily volume real or fake? Is there some weird things happening with the protocol, or is there genuine DeFi adoption?
Got it. So in addition to all of the obvious benefits we discussed, there's also a whole lot of due diligence that Fyde does that the users can actively take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So now that we understand a little bit more about Fyde and what you guys are building, let's jump into security. What, according to you, was the initial security strategy that you put in place, and why go with an external cybersecurity partner such as Halborn?
Security was kind of at the forefront of our minds since the very beginning. I would say in our initial hiring process, Like the people that we looked to take on to like work on the protocol had to be very security focused and had experience in previous DeFi protocols doing security and gas optimization and testing and auditing as well. All throughout our development process, how our development process looks like is we would have regular sessions where we essentially would come out with a new feature, and then we would kind of take turns at trying to break that feature apart ourselves and really understand, some strategies to like mitigate risk or like some things that we can do to kind of eliminate the problems with, the specific feature that we're going to roll out. Another thing about security, I would say, is that a lot of our developers are really focused on the latest kind of like hacks and the security vulnerabilities that are coming out recently. And we all are really engaged with the communities, and we all really interested personally on a personal level ourselves, to the point where some of our developers are even solo auditors and do it freelance. The one thing that we were most concerned also was with choosing an external auditor. So as you can see, we made a pretty good decision.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add on to that, we know that, if what we're building takes off, and we were speaking to, I won't say his name, but he's a chairman of one of the largest DAOs in the entire crypto space, right? His words were, if you guys pull this off, you'll hit 25 billion TBL within a year. And so if this works, then we are sitting on like what we built is going to be a massive honeypot, right? To all the hackers out there, to all the, scammers, all that sort of stuff. And so we wanted to make sure that we worked with somebody who was, who had the reputation as being one of the best in space. And just from speaking with you guys, looking at the way that you guys conducted your audits, and also just the talent that you guys brought into just the calls with us, when we were reviewing which auditor made sense, it seemed like Halborn was the right fit.
One of the things that really stood out to me about Halborn specifically, I guess, it was the extended review process, the kind of like longer than average, I would say, auditing. So we were like Bo mentioned, we were interviewing like a lot of different auditors, and we were like talking as a team internally, and we were like, what, 1 week for this, 2 weeks for this? Like, I don't know, it's a little complicated. You really think you could catch it all in a week or two? And they all seemed so sure of themselves.
Yeah.
I was a little bit off. And then we finally met with you guys, and you're like, okay, like 4 to 6 weeks. This is like going to be a very like diligent and internal review process. And we were like, okay, now these guys sound like somebody who actually knows what they're doing. So I guess that was one of the biggest reasons that we decided to go with Halborn.
Fantastic. It's great to hear all the feedback, and of course, to see all the due diligence you had put into also select your security partner and the internal processes you have in place. Security is definitely a bit of a purpose here, so that's always great stuff to hear. Thanks so much, guys, for talking to us about Fyde, and also handing out life lessons from your journey thus far. This has been a pleasure, and hopefully our audience enjoys it as well. Thank you so much.